Welcome to Buffalo Pregame, your source for live Buffalo football discussion, news, analysis, opinions, and more. Presented by ASM Publications and Bills Digest.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Buffalo Pregame. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, here for ASM Publications and Bills Digest. On tonight's show, we review the Bills' Week 2 victory over the New York Jets, and what a win it was, 30-10. The Bills roll through their AFC East rival. The defense responded. The running game was electric. Josh Allen may have gotten his nose broken, but hey, you know what they say, no guts, no glory. So the Bills march forward. They are now 2-0 on the season. So we'll discuss some standouts, some players that left a bit to be desired, and we'll also take a look ahead at the Week 3 matchup with the Miami Dolphins coming up on Thursday night. Each week on Buffalo Pregame, I'll provide updates on the NFL, NHL, and more via daily articles, podcasts, videos, and more. Please subscribe to Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, along with Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky on Substack, both of which are free of charge. Also, head over to the YouTube app or wherever you're listening on the audio side, hit that like button, give us a rating, whatever it may be. It would really mean the world to me. So let's get into it here as the Bills advance to 2-0 and quite easily over the New York Jets. This one never truly in doubt, as the Bills didn't get off to as hot of an offensive start as I was calling for in the pregame show, as I was wanting Josh Allen to really run free in this game and throw for 300 yards. But no, it was James Cook and the running game getting things done. It took a little bit for it to get going, but once it did, boy, what an impressive performance from that unit. And on the other side of the ball, Joey Bosa, what a performance on the defensive side. We'll get to his incredible effort in a moment, but let's dive into some stats here from Sunday's game. The Bills held the Jets to 0 for 11 on third down. That was the first time since 1990 the Bills defense has done that. Also, for the first time since 1990, the Bills held an opponent to 154 yards or fewer on the road. And if you needed anything else to explain just how dominant the Bills defense was in this game, it limited Justin Fields, the Jets quarterback, to fewer yards passing than the Bills had points in this game. Yes, more points than Justin Fields had yards passing. So Fields did leave the game early with an injury, but it wasn't early enough to really impact that stat there, as quite the embarrassing performance put forth by Fields and the Jets offense in this one. For heaven's sake, Bills backup quarterback Mitch Trubisky, who came on for Josh Allen after he sustained a forceful blow, I should say, to the face, and we'll touch on that a little bit more later. But Trubisky comes on, plays 2 snaps, and he records more passing yards than Justin Fields in this game. 1 connection for 32 yards down the field to Joshua Palmer. So Trubisky off the bench and showing what he can do in limited time. But he was only on the field for 2 plays. We'll talk about Josh Allen's injury later. Maybe a broken nose. He certainly showed some signs of what would be a broken nose in his post-game press conference. So we'll continue to follow that injury and provide updates as the week goes along. But the Jets did find some success running the ball in this game. They finished with 21 carries, 100 yards, but 27 yards of that came on a long run from Justin Fields right before the end of the first half, which left Bills linebacker Matt Milano a little dinged up, according to Sean McDermott. We'll also touch on that later. But finally, let's get to Joey Bosa's big day, and what a free agent acquisition this is turning out to be. His first sack as a Bill in this game. He also forced 2 fumbles, which brings his total up to 3 through 2 weeks. One of the forced fumbles today was recovered by A.J. Epinesa and helped lead to a field goal from Matt Prater, and the Bills took a 10-0 lead. His second and third forced fumble, as I said, in 2 games for Joey Bosa. So he finished with 2 tackles, one of which came for a loss, a sack, 2 quarterback hits, and 2 forced fumbles, as I mentioned, for the third time in this game. And the second forced fumble forced Justin Fields from the game. It happened when Bosa recorded his first sack as a Bill, and it sent Fields initially into the medical tent and then through the Jets tunnel and out of the game, Tyrod Taylor came on to replace him. But what an incredible day from Bosa, just all day long in the backfield, proving to be that game wrecker that the Bills drafted him to be. And if he can remain healthy, this could be a total steal of a free agent signing for the Bills. And the Bills have been looking for a player who can come in and disrupt opposing passers and make game-changing plays off the edge. You had that with Von Miller, a brief stint with the Bills before he sustained that ACL injury, which really kind of derailed any type of impact he was going to make going forward with the team. But Joey Bosa, if he can stay healthy, he might be even better than what Von Miller showed early in that season, his first with the Bills. And in this game, it wasn't just Bosa contributing in terms of the pass rush, in terms of the defensive line's ability to impact the game. Cole Bishop from his safety position came off a safety blitz, came through with a sack despite an up and down game. And then Daquan Jones, after I have been fairly critical of Jones, he came through with a sack in this game as well. So it made me eat my words maybe a little bit. And then also along the defensive line, Greg Rousseau, Zion Logue sharing a sack. That's Logue's first career sack. And he made an impact in this game coming up off the practice squad. The Bills knew they needed to stop the run. They did a nice job in doing so. And I'd like to see the snap percentages, but Zion Logue had the half sack, and he also, I think, batted down a pass at the line of scrimmage, as did Rousseau, who was matched up, I believe, against Jets rookie offensive tackle Armand Membu, who's had a good start to the season. Rousseau finished with just one tackle, the half sack, and then, like I said, the pass defense, I believe, at the line of scrimmage. But all in all, just a great performance from this defensive line, and they really needed it with Ed Oliver out due to injury and coming back off of a poor performance against the Baltimore Ravens in week 1. As Nathan Oliver chimes in, Logue had a nice game. He certainly did. And so did the rookies. I thought TJ Sanders and Deion Walker held their own in this game. I'd like to kind of rewatch it and focus on them a little bit more, but I don't think they got blown up at all. I think Sanders opened some things up for others up front. Neither of them came away with any big plays. But let's look at the stat sheet. You had Walker with a couple of tackles, and you had TJ Sanders with a tackle as well. So I'd like to watch the game over again to get a true determination of kind of how they impacted the game, how many snaps they played, this, that, and the other thing. But it was a total team effort from the Buffalo defensive line. Proved to be much better than we saw a week ago against the Ravens. And this was a Jets offensive line that not only with Membu, but overall had received plenty of praise coming off their performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 1. And just an all-in-all great performance from Buffalo's front four, which made things easy on the other two levels in this game. And I don't know if you saw all that much from Terrell Bernard or really Bishop, Rapp, or the secondary, but you didn't really need much in this game. It really came down to that dominance in the line of scrimmage, Bosa leading the way. In total on Sunday, the Bills compiled 23 quarterback pressures per Pro Football Focus. That's an insane number and just shows how well this group played. And they did it all, like I mentioned before, without Ed Oliver and without starting nickel cornerback Taron Johnson in this game, who was expected to play. He spoke with Joe Biscaglia from The Athletic earlier this week and really gave all indication that he would suit up and be on the field for this game. But instead, he was out there early warming up. He is eventually announced as an inactive and does not participate in this game. That leads to Cam Lewis getting the start at nickel cornerback. But it didn't matter with the Bills missing Ed Oliver and Taron Johnson. Justin Fields really never stood a chance in this game. But also, another positive thing to report here, cornerback Tre'Davious White gets his first start of the season. Missed week 1 due to that groin injury that held him out for a couple of weeks during the preseason. And like I said, also that week 1 matchup against the Baltimore Ravens. But White returns in this game, takes over for the rookie Dorian Strong, who got the start in week 1. And White showed no fear out there. He had 3 tackles, one of which came for a loss. And you didn't hear his name in coverage. Now, you didn't hear anyone's name in coverage because Fields struggled the way he did. But White didn't play in the fourth quarter. I think that was just, and Sean McDermott kind of confirmed this, that it was just a matter of trying to get him much needed rest leading into a short week with the game against the Dolphins coming up on Thursday. So I think with the game turning into a blowout that allowed you to pull Tre'Davious White out of the game, we'll have to follow along, see if he does have any lingering effects from that groin injury coming out of this game. But it seemed to be all good for Trey White in this game, and something to build on heading into a tough matchup with two speedy wide receivers on the outside in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle for Miami. But it's I don't want to say a walkover in this game, because divisional matchups can always turn into tough games and you never know what to expect. Any other cliche you want to throw at it, but Tua Tagovailoa has looked horrible this year. His receivers have some burst, but he threw another bad interception today. He did go for over 300 yards, but he's a turnover machine waiting to happen now. Everything that the Miami Dolphins fans thought that Josh Allen was for years. So I'm not confident in the Dolphins heading into this game. But with that being said, those two wide receivers on the outside could make things a little bit tricky for a player in Tre'Davious White, who's been sapped of some of that athleticism, some of that speed ever since sustaining two significant injuries. So it was an encouraging day for Tre'Davious White today. We'll see how he can kind of improve as the season goes along here. But along with Ed Oliver and Taron Johnson, the Bills might also now be without Matt Milano. Milano chased down Justin Fields late in the first half and left the field after going down with what appeared to be a left hamstring injury per banged up Bills. You can check his Twitter. Dr. Kyle Trimble does a great job. He clipped the play, and you can see Milano kind of going down in a heap and just a tough situation for him, as he has a history of hamstring injuries and soft tissue injuries at that. So this isn't good for a 31-year-old linebacker trying to work his way back from a couple of significant injuries of his own over the years, a broken leg and then the biceps injury last year. So Sean McDermott said that Milano got, quote, a little dinged up, but didn't know much more. So we'll have to wait until tomorrow, until McDermott speaks to the media, and then going on through the week and see if there's any progress there. If Milano can't go in the game coming up against the Miami Dolphins, it'll be Dorian Williams, last year's leading tackler, entering the lineup for the Buffalo Bills. And Williams should be ready to go. The Bills have spent more time than I think normal in base defense the first 2 weeks of the season with three linebackers on the field, and Williams has performed adequately throughout the first 2 weeks, and he was out there for the first snap of the game today. The Bills played a little bit of that base to slow down the Jets' potent running game. So I would expect that Dorian Williams will be raring to go if he's provided an opportunity to take over for a potentially injured Matt Milano. But let's take a quick break. Everyone, please head on over to the YouTube app. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you're listening on the audio side, give us a rating, and then on Twitter, like, share, whatever you can do to help promote the podcast. I would really appreciate it. But please head on over to that YouTube app. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this post with your friends. All right, let's shift to the offensive side of the ball, where the Bills were equally as brilliant as they were defensively, particularly in the running game. James Cook, 21 carries, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. He averaged 6.3 yards per carry, a 44-yard touchdown run that you might see on SportsCenter's top 10, slipping through tacklers and putting his foot in the ground and making a nice cut to break away from Jets defenders. Since the start of last season, nobody has more rushing touchdowns than James Cook. He now has 19 touchdowns on the ground since the start of the 2024 campaign. And it wasn't all James Cook in this game. The Bills finished with 224 total rushing yards, the most allowed by the Jets since 2021. And their 146 yards rushing during the first half alone were Buffalo's most since a 2023 matchup with the Cowboys. James Cook became the first Bills running back since 1988 to record a rushing touchdown in 6 consecutive games. And I could go on for hours with the numbers in this game, but perhaps the most impressive aspect of the performance from the Bills rushing attack was they did a lot of it in between the tackles and against a talented defensive front in the New York Jets. That is mighty impressive how the Bills asserted themselves against this team today. Of the Bills' 146 first-half rushing yards, 135 of them came from between the tackles, that per next-gen stats. So when you look back at the offseason and the contract saga between James Cook and the team. It seems a bit silly at this point. I said it all along in the offseason. I didn't want to pay him an incredible amount of money, but as time goes on here, he becomes more and more important to this offense. And what you saw from him today was true top 5, top 10 running back performance. And it was against the team that held the Pittsburgh Steelers in check in their running game last week. So very impressive stuff from James Cook. Very impressive stuff from the Bills' offensive line in terms of run blocking in this one. Maybe left a little bit desired in terms of their pass protection of Josh Allen, but I thought the Bills' offensive front 5 was spectacular in the running game, and James Cook proved he's well worth the money that the Bills paid him in terms of that contract extension this offseason. And Josh Allen with his third longest run in his career of, I believe, 40 yards, and then Elijah Moore also getting in on the act, came away with a 31-yard reception, then a 2-yard touchdown run to get some revenge on his former team. So like I said, it wasn't all James Cook. It was the offensive line. You had Josh Allen with a big play and Elijah Moore also finding the end zone on the ground as well. But elsewhere offensively, Keon Coleman limited to 3 receptions for 26 yards. He had an offensive pass interference penalty. My 2 prop bet candidates on Buffalo Bills on SI, Dalton Kincaid and Joshua Palmer, they nearly made me look like a smart man as hit with Kincaid on the over 3.5 receptions. He finished with 4 catches for 37 yards. But Joshua Palmer, 2 catches, 47 yards. And he was 3 yards away from cashing my prop bet, which was 50-plus yards for Joshua Palmer in this one. The Bills' passing game really didn't do much in this game. Khalil Shakir didn't catch a ball, I think, until midway through the second half. Josh Allen finished a modest day, 14 of 25, 148 yards. He was held out of the end zone, which that doesn't happen very often in this game. But the offensive line, I thought, had a tough day. I'll be interested to really dive into the pressure numbers. The Jets got plenty of pressure, especially early on, and it put Allen out of sorts along with the passing game. He missed a couple of throws, including one to Tyrell Shavers. And Dawson Knox also had a tough day with a couple of drops. He was targeted 5 times, but came away with just 2 catches. So not an ideal performance from Dawson Knox in this game either. And really, when you look at the Bills' offensive performance as a whole, like I said before, I was expecting a load of Josh Allen in this game. If you look back at that first matchup between the Steelers and the Jets in week 1, Aaron Rodgers dominated this secondary. And Sauce Gardner is playing some of his best football, as Tony Romo mentioned on the broadcast today. But we saw Brandon Stevens get beat a couple times today, and Michael Carter II also has left a bit to be desired to start this season. So I was surprised to see the Bills' passing game held down the way it was. But then again, as Sean McDermott always says, the rush and coverage have to work together. And what you saw today was the New York Jets pass rush really making things a little bit easier on the secondary and forcing Josh Allen to get off his spot early in the down and get rid of the ball much, much sooner than he would have liked to. So I'll have to rewatch and hopefully get an all-22 look at it as well to see if the Bills receivers were really held in check and unable to gain the separation that they needed, or if it was just a product of that that Jets pass rush getting after the Bills offensive line on the edge in this game. But finally, let's flip to special teams, where new Bills punter Cameron Johnston made his debut. A 43.3 punt average, 48 yards was his long, 2 punts inside the 20. It's leaps and bounds better than what you saw from Brad Robbins a week ago. He was really the worst punter in the league when it came to that EPA per punt metric. And also a good sign, Matt Prater went 3 for 3 on his field goals. No issues in terms of the operation. Holding for Matt Prater from Cameron Johnston, and Prater also 3 for 3 on his extra points. And one of his field goals came from 52 yards, looked like it would have been good from 60. And I know that Sean McDermott has said that Tyler Bass is the guy when he returns from injury, but as a few people were pointing out on X today, with the way that Prater's looked in these first 2 games of the season, really money and clutch situations and from deep range, it's going to be tough to turn back to Tyler Bass, especially when you don't know what he's going to offer coming back from an injury. If the Bills go back to him, and whether it be cut bait with Prater or what have you, they better be darn sure that Bass is ready to go and going to come in and deliver a consistent effort, because it would certainly be a bad situation if you let go of a guy like Prater. Bass comes in and struggles, and then a couple weeks later you're looking at it like, darn, I wish we didn't let him go and another team picks him up. So I think that's going to be an interesting decision for down the road, and that is if Bass is ever healthy enough to return this season. Those are tricky injuries with kickers: the hip, the pelvic area, the groin. So we'll have to follow that with Bass and see what happens with Prater down the road here. But let's take a brief look ahead. It's going to be a short post-game episode. Looking ahead, the Bills take on the 0-2 Dolphins next week. They lost a heartbreaker 33-27 at the hands of the Patriots. Like I said, Tua Tagovailoa over 300 yards passing, but threw another terrible interception where he just telegraphed it and threw it directly to a New England Patriots defensive back or linebacker. And Milton Williams, the Patriots free agent acquisition this offseason, really ate in this game. He came up with a game-ending sack, and he's someone to watch for the Bills' upcoming matchups with the New England Patriots. And the Bills are going to have to account for him up front. He'll be one of the top pass-rushing defensive linemen that the Bills have seen this season, really overall talented defensive lineman that the Bills will see this season. So Milton Williams, a name to watch coming down the road here for the New England Patriots. And if you look at this game from the the Miami Dolphins, Tyreek Hill showed some signs of life, a 47-yard reception, and he also recorded over 100 yards. A big storyline entering this week was he hadn't recorded a reception of 30 yards or more in quite some time, and people were starting to wonder if his burst was dissipating, if his impact on the game overall was dissipating. But like I said, he kind of stuck his hand out of the dirt today, Undertaker style, and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle made an impact in this game. Devin Achane also a long reception. So if Tua Tagovailoa cannot turn the ball over, they may have a chance, but by all means, this team appears cooked. I'm going to predict a big win for the Bills coming up this week against the Miami Dolphins. I don't have the score picked out quite yet, but I can imagine a double-digit plus. Obviously, I'm not going to go to triple digits, but I went 10 points with my prediction this week. Turned out it was a 20-point margin of victory for the Bills over the Jets. I could see the Bills winning by even more next week over the Miami Dolphins. All right, that's going to do it. Like I said, a short post-game episode. Really a throttling performance today from the Buffalo Bills. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. Please, everybody, go to YouTube and please like, share, and subscribe. Also, you can find it on the audio side and subscribe to the Buffalo Pregame Substack as well. But thank you for joining me, and I'll